This is my Winchester Model 1200 Riot shotgun. I've done a few videos on this over the past year and a half or so. This particular one, I believe, is a government contract shotgun based on the serial number range being in the 400,000 range, and this one dates back to about 1968. I have done a few improvements to this. You can see that I have a chote machine and tool magazine extension. I have a heat shield on there, and largely it's been refinished a couple of times. The receiver looks like it's been painted. The stock has been redone. Coolest part, again, is that this was a real Riot shotgun. Again, I tried to make this a little bit better for home defense style, so I added that small rail portion on the front, and I did change this out to a corncob foregrip. One of the most defining characteristics of this style, the 1200 and 1300 shotguns, is that rotating bolt assembly. Now, it was kind of unique when I had bought this one. I hadn't really seen one before. I never really researched the Model 1200 or the 1300, but these were known as pretty fast shotguns to shoot because when you pull the trigger, that bolt actually unlocks just a tiny little bit and allows that slide to come open. So it reduces the amount of force you need to make that action move back and forth. More recently, I've been helping a buddy find a shotgun for his first shotgun, and I came across this Winchester SXP Defender, which is actually potentially a trench gun of the modern variety. And when I started looking at the action on this, it really became evident that this gun shares the lineage with the Model 1200 and the Model 1300 shotguns. As we look at it a little bit closer, you can see it says Winchester Super X Pump, which is what SXP stands for. And this is a 12 gauge 2 3/4 and 3-inch chamber with an 18-inch barrel, and it has some modern amenities on it. I didn't know a lot about these, so I did some searching online and found a video from Such Double Lot all about this shotgun.
When you think about Winchester, you think about the Old West, you think about police cruisers carrying a Model 12, and you think about the trench gun. So Winchester introduced their XSP line, and with that, their version of a modern trench gun. This is a 12 gauge pump. It has the heat shield, no bayonet lug, but this is one of the fastest actions for a pump on the market. In fact, 3 shots in a half second. This is fast as any semi-automatic.
Now, of course, going back and watching Such Double Lot's video again, I really got excited about this, and when my buddy decided he didn't want to buy it, I decided that I had to have it. So I went back and purchased it. Now, this thing only cost $279, which I think is a great price for something that shares the lineage with the 12 and 1300 models. It's not, an exceptionally high quality gun. It is made in Turkey. So as you can see here, made in Istanbul, Turkey, imported by Rayco Morgan, Utah, but it is of the Winchester lineage. And just like the Model 1200 and 1300, it does have that rotating bolt that partially unlocks when you pull the trigger. It's not quite as evident in this video as you can see with the 1200 because this gun is actually still very tight. But it is, for the price, a fantastic design shotgun which shares its lineage with the older Model 1200 and 1300. Now, if we look at these side by side, obviously there are some differences. If you look at the receiver where the stock mounts, the 1200 has that kind of V cut in it where the SXP is straight. And again, that's a design change to probably reduce engineering and manufacturing time. The trigger guards are a totally different shape, but it does still have a pretty nice hefty trigger guard on there. The safeties are in the same locations. And again, if you look in the actions, they look similar. The old 1200 does not have provision for a rail, where the new one does. It was actually drilled and tapped. And if you look at the handguard or the forend on this, the SXP is much longer to keep your hand protected. Obviously, I had to put a magazine extension on the 1200 because it had a shorter magazine tube. The SXP actually is a 1 or 2 more round capacity than the 1200, so I don't need to put a magazine extension on there. And even if I wanted to, it would actually stick out beyond the barrel, and it has dimples in it to prevent you from taking the guts out easily. So it would not be that easy to add an extension on the SXP, but it could be possible. So you can see again that the action release is actually in the same spot. Most of the functionality of these is 100% identical. And even though my SXP Defender does not have a heat shield on it, it's possible that when the last person bought it, it didn't come with one, or they took it off and threw it out or something. I do plan on putting a plastic heat shield or a metal heat shield on it to make it look more like a complete trench gun, like the one that Such Double Lot has. But it's just another one of those things where, I wanted to find another gun that was in the vein of a police and riot style shotgun. And I think if most people look at these guns side by side, they would probably say they're the same picture. At any rate, that's just a little side by side comparison of my 1968 Winchester 1200 riot shotgun next to its more modern counterpart, the Winchester SXP Defender trench gun. I think both of these are viable options. I will take them both out to the range side by side and do some shooting with them. And I really think that, it's a nice addition to the Cranky Gun Reviews arsenal of shotguns that I have. Again, I mentioned in previous videos I need to do a full series just on my police, riot, trench style, and self defense shotguns because I have so many of them and I really like the subject matter of them. I like their usage in history. I really like the functionality of them. And to me, the best thing you can get is just like this, a nice wood stock, wood fore end, corncob grip, blued steel, or parkerized steel shotgun with a short barrel and a big magazine tube. So thanks again for watching another edition of Cranky Gun Reviews. God bless America. Support your 2A rights. Get out there and shoot. And you remember, if someone asks you to give up some of your freedom for the greater good, remind them that freedom is the greater good.